Welcome to football in the Great Lakes State.
No. Great Lakes State football, baby.
Or GLSF all ball.
or if anyone knows our email, GLSF ball.
We apparently don't know how to make proper names, especially when you're trying to relate things to the Great Lakes State and football.
Yeah. Yes, as Kory and I have been debating while we've been trying to come up with ideas for names, Great Lakes State and football tends to be taken quite a bit more than we thought. So we had to use GLSF ball a couple times for some usernames and a Gmail account. But anyway, welcome to Great Lakes State football. I'm Vince, and above me on my Zoom,
I'm Kory. Poppy, as most know me.
Great Papayas.
Yeah, I'm going to bring football from the state of Michigan to you beautiful people who are interested. So that's where we'll go.
We're going to be talking everything Michigan, state of Michigan football. And for those of you who are listening and watching by chance that are not our beautiful and wonderful friends and family who we spam followed on Instagram and Twitter to try and get some traction, if by some chance you shared it with some other people who don't know who we are, I'm Vince, and Kory above me. Both of us are Grand Ledge High School grads on the west side of Lansing, capital of Michigan. Both of us played ball at Grand Ledge. Go Comets. Kory's a 2010 grad. I'm a 2011 grad, and we both are GLIAC football players, both washed up athletes. I played at Hillsdale College from 2011 2015. Go Chargers. And then I returned and started coaching at Grand Ledge in 2016. I just finished my 6th year coaching high school football, 3rd year as the defensive coordinator for the varsity Grand Ledge Comets. And unfortunately, our season has come to an end a few weeks ago. But yeah, so Kory, if you want to add your playing career there.
Yeah, so I also went to the wonderful Grand Ledge High School, which is not all that wonderful, but it's all right. Then I went on to play football at Northwood University. That's also part of the GLIAC. I was an offensive lineman there from 2010 to 2014. And then I also returned back to my hometown, just like everybody should, of course. And coach Hall. I was a defensive line coach for 3 years. I was a offensive line coach on the freshman team for a year. And then I was actually an OC on the JV team for a year. So 5 years of coaching, 20 years of football. Love the game, love the state of Michigan, and yeah, just ready to share some knowledge and try to do the best we can to give you the whole state in perspective with football.
So that's kind of our playing and coaching career. So we're very heavily involved, hands-on with the game. What about fandom, Kory? Who is your team of choice?
I am live or die Michigan, go blue, and I am also live or die Lions, which has probably cut like 3.5 years off my life at this point. My wife casually laughs at me on Sundays while I drink too much beer and cry when the Lions lose or scream or throw my cats or whatever it might be. So, yeah, the go Lions, blue and go Lions.
Yeah, I'm a Michigan State fan, so go green, baby, go green. Most of my family graduated from Michigan State, but I didn't play college football. Would have gone to MSU most likely. And I am also a Lions fan, not nearly as diehard as Kory. He is referred to me as a fair weather fan sometimes, but hey, I watched the entire game when they frickin' tied. Was that 2 Sundays ago or last Sunday?
I was there in the rain.
Was that 2 Sundays ago?
2 Sundays ago.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, because they had a bye. Didn't they have a bye last week?
No, we lost again to
That's how forgettable this season's been. I don't even remember when their bye week was. Yeah, I suffered through that tie. I watched the whole thing start to finish. Hey, I'm such a big Michigan State fan. I watched start to finish. We'll get to Michigan State a little bit later, but the Ohio State game, I did watch the entire thing. I didn't turn it off. So
R.I.P.
I'm go green no matter what. Lions, I won't suffer through them as much as I would suffer through Michigan State, but anyway, so that's the two of us, and we've been talking for quite a few years now. As long as we've been, we'll get to Michigan State and Michigan a little bit later. They actually have quite a bit to play for still, but Kory and I have been talking for quite some time about trying to start a football podcast or at least do something online discussing the game of football with how, much experience we've had playing and coaching, and how much we enjoy the game, and how much time him and I, we spend bantering and arguing and yelling at each other, and or at least sometimes agreeing and have interesting conversations about football. But we thought this would be a fun thing to do. So you know what? We decided to stop talking about it and screw it. Go ahead and get it started. So kind of the intentions and goals of this thing is to mostly talk about football. I mean, anything related to the state of Michigan. Obviously, we could not call this podcast Michigan football. As him and I debated for a while, if we said Michigan football, everyone would immediately think the Wolverines. So we were trying to come up with an interesting name that was inclusive of football in the entire state of Michigan. And we thought Mitten State sounded pretty stupid. So then we landed
very
on
soft. We could not say Mitten. That's very soft.
Does sound like a very soft podcast. So then we came up with Great Lakes State football, and I think that's a fun name. And obviously Great Lakes State is a nickname for the state of Michigan. So in the end, we will be uplifting and talking about and discussing any college team, conference, league, as well as high school football in the state of Michigan, D3, D2, D1, the MAC, Big Ten, and then even the Lions. So we're going to have some good conversations in the weeks to come, hoping to do an episode per week. Obviously, football is kind of winding down here. We have some really cool ideas in the off season, for some things that we're going to do, but there's still football left to be discussed. And we're very excited. We're going to have our first guest on a little bit later in the episode here. Brett Johnson. For those of you that are friends and family, probably know Brett. If you're from Grand Ledge, Brett Johansson, Brett Jansen. Brett will be on. Grand Ledge grad. Was a Grand Valley football player for a year, and great guy, knows football, loves football. So he's going to be on as a guest picker as we discuss the MHSAA playoffs, the state championship games. We're going to go through and talk about each game and have picks. Well, we're going to come up with an idea for a contest here for whoever wins, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. So we are going to go ahead and start here with the D3 playoffs. And this year, the MIAA, the Michigan Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, which is the oldest college conference in the country. Fun fact for all of you out there, Michigan State actually played at one time. And so did my Hillsdale Chargers. Go Chargers.
I didn't know they were D3.
D3 did not exist till the 1970s. There was big colleges and small colleges. Come on, bro. There was no Division 1, 2, or 3 until the 1970s. Anyway, D3, MIAA, Albion College, the Britons won the MIAA this year. They last won the conference and made the NCAA Division 3 playoffs in 2015. They this year played University of Wisconsin lacrosse out of the D3 conference in Wisconsin that has Wisconsin Whitewater, a pretty dominant conference. The Division 3 playoffs have 32 teams in their field, and every conference gets an automatic bid. And I believe last I checked, Kory, you could correct me, but there's 20-something conferences. There's generally like close to 10 at-large bids, I believe. It's like 5 to 8 at-large bids, not quite 10. The only reason I bring this up is because the Wisconsin conference is usually the only one of only a couple that get the at-large bid. Usually the conference that Mount Union's in gets an at-large bid for their second place team. So does the Wisconsin one.
Rightly so.
Yeah, because those are pretty much the two best top to bottom conferences in Division 3. Albion hosted. Albion went 9-1. Good for them, man. Heck of a season. Their only loss was to Adrian, I believe. And Adrian, I believe, ended up having 2 losses. So the other team, I have to go double check, that had 1 loss. I can't remember who it was, but Albion beat them and they had the head-to-head win. So they did take the spot in the playoffs. But they hosted for the first time since 1994. So those of you who don't know, Albion won the Division III National Championship in 1994. It went 13-0. That was before automatic bids. Automatic bids for the Division III playoffs did not start until 1999. So that makes it even more impressive that there was only 16 teams that got an at-large bid and won the whole thing. That was the last time they hosted a game. Another fun fact for you. No MIAA team has won a playoff game
Since then,
since that 1994 team. Fun fact. Other, you gotta wait for the but. Yep. Other than Trine. So our buddy Zach Hess, if he's watching and listening here, your Thunder, your Trine Thunder, University of Trine Thunder or whatever, is the only MIAA team since 1994. is the only team since 1994 in the MIAA that's won a playoff game. Trine has actually won 3 playoff games since 1994. They won one in 2009, one in 2010, before Zach got there. Sorry, Zach. And in 2017 after he left. Trine is also the only MIAA team since 1994 to have a 10 or more win season. So pretty crazy. Albion, unfortunately, could not become the only other team than Trine to have 10 wins or a playoff win. So, yeah, Albion unfortunately got beat 58-23 at home. I watched about half that game. I was on YouTube, streamed live. University of Wisconsin lacrosse now has to play the defending national champs, North Central. North Central won the Division III national title in 2019. They didn't play last year in 2020 due to COVID. So anything you want to add on that, Kory? Otherwise, we'll move on here.
No, I would just say that the MIAA actually had a pretty strong year. I think there was 5 teams over 500 in that conference. Of the 9, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was 5. But anyway, super strong year for the conference. You go out and play a Wisconsin team that in the state of Wisconsin, you don't have D2 football. So you're pretty much rigged. Like anybody who's great goes to Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota. Anybody who's average goes to any of the Wisconsin teams. And of course, there's sleepers in there. So the Wisconsin teams normally wreak havoc in the playoffs or win it all. I think the market of football is so saturated in the state of Michigan with the MIAA and Division II super strong, and Division I is super strong in the state of Michigan. Really, our D3 programs are very diluted. I mean, as a high school football coach, and you've seen this, you get some guys going D3 that probably don't necessarily need to be playing college football, but in the end of the day, like, you need bodies to play football. So
yeah, it's interesting. I'm glad you brought this up before we moved on from this topic, because it is true. The state of Michigan not only has a Division II league and 3 teams that play in the MAC, mid-major teams, but they also have 2 Big Ten teams. So the 2, 4, 6 teams, because the MIAA has 7 teams, but one of them is in Indiana and Trine. But the other 6 Michigan D3 schools kind of get the leftovers. Like you just said, that Wisconsin conference is so damn strong because there is no Division II football in the state of Wisconsin. And actually the only football you can play in the state of Wisconsin is the Wisconsin Badgers in Madison. You got to go to Madison, Wisconsin Badgers, if you want to play football. There's no mid-majors, right? There's no D1 mid-majors. I correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think there's any FCS football, Division I AA.
Not in Wisconsin. No, South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota.
So they might, some of those, some kids from Wisconsin might go to those schools. But if you want to stay home in the state of Wisconsin and play football, you either go to Madison, play Big Ten. Not a lot of kids are good enough to do that. I mean, it's a very small percentage. Or you go Division III. So you're going to get a lot of the best kids in the state of Wisconsin that are not playing for Madison, the University of Wisconsin Badgers, going D3 if they're not willing to leave the state. Whereas again, like you mentioned in the state of Michigan, it's so diluted by the time the MIAA gets, it's so hard for those D3 schools to recruit out of state. They just don't have the money, so by the time they get to the recruits in their own state, they're getting the leftovers. So it's very, very hard for the MIAA to compete on a national level. It just is. But yeah, I'm glad you brought up the fact that only one team had a losing record. Kalamazoo went 1-9.
Yeah, Blake. It was 6 of the 7.
Sorry, Blake. Simon, one of our buddies, played there, and Jordan Laredo. Sorry, guys. Kalamazoo 1-9.
R.I.P.
And the rest of the conference, though, Alma and Adrian were 5-5. Olivet 7-3. Trine 6-4. Hope was who tied with Albion, but Albion got the tiebreaker because they beat Hope head to head, so they were the outright champs and got the playoff bid. So 9-2 and 8-2. So, all right. With that, let's move on here to our next topic. We are going to talk about Division II football in the state of Michigan. We'll talk about the playoffs second here. We're going to actually talk about my Hillsdale Chargers really quick. Hillsdale did not have a great year. They had a pretty average year. As Kory likes to joke, tell the people your nickname for Hillsdale College football.
A bunch of average white guys just playing football.
Kory usually just says average white guy football is what he says is where I play.
Super average white guy football, playing in a super average white guy bowl game. But I mean, it's fun for the guys. You know, I mean, the guys who are fifth years, the guys whose careers are done, you got another opportunity to go play, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and actually, Kory and I coached one of the current members, two of the current members who are both seniors. So this will be their last game. Shout out to Cole Johnson, whose older brother will be on the podcast a little bit later here to do playoff picks for us, and Jacob Umholtz, running back and offensive lineman. Cole just got his third straight all-conference honors in the GMAC, the Great Midwest Athletic Conference. Hillsdale is currently the only Michigan school that is in the GMAC, but Kory's beloved Timberwolves of Northwood are joining the GMAC starting next school year. So there will be two Michigan schools in that league. So this new bowl game, it's only one of four. There's 4 Division II bowl games that are mostly conference crossover games. They're not like Division I bowl games where these big national things. It is a crossover bowl between the Great Lakes Valley Conference, which has schools from Indiana mostly, and Kentucky, a lot of other Midwest schools, whereas the GMAC is mostly Ohio schools and then Hillsdale. So they created this game called America's Crossroads Bowl. And it began in 2019. Ohio Dominican and Truman State were in the first one. Ohio Dominican won 20-7 or 21-7. It was canceled last year due to COVID, and so now it's happening this year. The bowl is basically the 2 second place teams from the conference get invited, because pretty much there's no automatic bids for Division II playoffs. But if you win your league, it's pretty rare unless you're Hillsdale College 2011. Hillsdale College 2011 won the GLIAC outright. I was a freshman on the team, got a ring up there. 2011 GLIAC conference champs, and we didn't make the playoffs. The 2 second, third place teams, one of them who we beat, made the playoffs. Anyway, that's another story. So Division II has regional rankings, but if you win your league, you pretty much go to the playoffs. And so weirdly enough, Kory and I were just looking at this. Indianapolis actually was second place in the GLVC. Lindenwood won the league. And we'll talk about them in a second because they were in the playoffs and played Grand Valley. But Indianapolis finished 7-4, second place in the conference, and they must have turned it down because at 5-2 in the league, Truman State was 4-3 in the league, and Truman State is who has been invited to the game. Truman State finished 8-3 actually. They were 4-0 in conference play and went 4-3 in league play, so they had a strong start, didn't finish quite as strong. And Hillsdale started the year 0-3 and actually got beat by Truman State, got beat by Indianapolis. They lost 3 tough non-conference games, got beat up at Michigan Tech. So Hillsdale started 0-3. Hillsdale then won 3 straight games and beat the 2 best teams in the GMAC. Findlay, who won the league. Hillsdale beat Findlay at Findlay. Hillsdale beat Tiffin at Tiffin, who finished second place. And Hillsdale ended the year being Ohio Dominican, who just finished a spot behind him, but with a better record. But Hillsdale still only managed to finish 6-5. So interesting year for them that they finished second place, but beat 3 really good teams. But again, had 3 tough non-conference losses. So Hillsdale College 6-5, playing Truman State 8-3 in the 1 of 4 Division II bowl games. So good luck to the Hillsdale College Chargers. Hopefully they get a 7th win on the season. Good luck, Cole. Good luck, Jake. Our fellow Grand Ledge Comets.
My Timberwolves did not beat anybody. Actually, just kidding. They beat Northern Michigan once. They played them twice, which was strange.
Oh, maybe they had a non-conference game that got canceled or something.
They must have something, but they didn't win a whole lot. So,
oh man, that's too bad.
We'll regroup and lose again next year. We'll be there.
All right. Well, with that, let's move on to the Division II playoffs. And we did have 2 teams from the state of Michigan make the Division II playoffs. So the GLIAC, which has been kind of demolished, really, in terms of the number of teams in the league now, after we just talked about the GMAC, which took all of the Ohio schools. It was all the Ohio schools but Ashland officially joined the GMAC this past year. So now there are no longer any Ohio schools that play football left in the GLIAC. And Northwood and Hillsdale has been in it for 5 years now, but Northwood will be leaving the GLIAC next year. So the GLIAC football teams next year will be down to Northern, Michigan Tech, Ferris State, Grand Valley, Saginaw Valley, and Wayne State. Am I missing any? I think it's just those 6.
Wow, just 6?
That's it. Because I think there was 8, and then
time,
Ashland left. And when Northwood leaving, that I'm pretty sure that leaves only 6. At one time, there were like 14 football schools.
I was going to say when we had Walsh, Malone, Tiffin.
Indianapolis was in the league too.
Indianapolis. Wow.
Yep. Ohio Dominican.
I don't know what they're trying to do.
I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen with the GLIAC, man, with only 6 foot. Oh, Davenport. Excuse me. There's 7. I forgot about Davenport. There's 7 football schools.
They're like a stepchild, though. Nobody likes
Yeah, they were NAI. They're a brand new program. Program.
They did bring over Wisconsin Parkside, Indiana, Purdue,
Northwest Missouri,
or Northwest.
Not Northwest Missouri State. Northwest.
I think it's Northwest Purdue, Indiana. I don't know.
Yeah, they don't play
Panthers,
football.
Baby. They're the Panthers.
But those schools don't play football. Well, and then Lake Superior State is in the GLIAC, but they also don't play football.
Very true, and they are way up there.
So anyway, the GLIAC is still an incredibly strong conference for football. They got 2 bids. Ferris State went 10-0. They finished the number 1 team in the country. Tony Anise, man, has just turned Ferris State into a powerhouse over the last 10 years. And Grand Valley got an at-large bid. Grand Valley finished 9-1. Both of them only played 10 games. Grand Valley had their first game of the year canceled, I think, due to COVID against Edinburgh. I hadn't looked up Ferris State's schedule. I forgot if they just had a bye week or if they also had a game.
They had
canceled.
a bye.
They just straight up didn't schedule a non-conference game. Or correct. One of their non-conference was open. So smart for them, man. They probably figured they were going to be good, give them a week off at some point. So Ferris finished 10-0, number 1 in the country. They beat Grand Valley at Grand Valley 35-28. Grand Valley was actually down by 14. Ferris State scored with 2 minutes left to make it a 1-score game. Nonetheless, Tony Anise has kind of dominated Matt Mitchell and Grand Valley over the last 10 years. I think Grand Valley has only won maybe 2 or 3 times in the last 10 years.
And they've almost played twice a year for the last 5 years almost.
Because what has happened this year has happened many times over the last 10 years where Ferris wins the league or Grand Valley wins the league, and then the other one gets an at-large playoff bid because they don't lose any of their other games. They go 9-1 or 9-2 or 10-1 with their only loss being to the other team. So Ferris State got a bye, the number 1 team in all 4 regions. 28 teams make the playoffs in D2. So the number 1 team in each region gets a bye. And Grand Valley beat Lindenwood at home, who was the league winner in the GLVC, who we were just talking about a moment ago. They beat Lindenwood 20-3. Grand Valley's defense is phenomenal. I think 35 points might have been one of Ferris State's lowest scoring totals of the year. So Grand Valley lost 35-28, but Ferris State, man, has put up, I think, 70 this year. Grand Valley put up 70 on Northwood. So Grand Valley has quite an offense too. Grand Valley has put up more than 40 points. They put up more than 60 twice this year.
Ferris scored 35 against Grand Valley and 35 against Wayne State.
Otherwise, they scored more than that in all their other games.
Correct.
Wow. Grand Valley put up 62 on Wayne State. So 2 very good teams.
They put up 100 on Northwood, so we just want to talk about that.
70-9. Yikes. Yeah. So Grand Valley plays at Ferris State this coming Saturday, November 27th, up in Big Rapids, Michigan, baby. Big game. What do you think, Kory? Who are you picking for this one?
So I think it's a repeat. I think Ferris State wins. I think Ferris scores a lot of points. They give up a lot of points. I think their average is like they score 45 and give up 20, which is a lot of points for them compared to Grand Valley. Run heavy team, very good defense, but it's just so hard to play against Ferris State because they have so much talent. Tony Anise does a hell of a job bringing in pretty much everybody he can get his hands on who's athletic.
Which is weird because before Tony Anise got to Ferris State, that was what Grand Valley was. I mean, Grand Valley still gets unbelievable talent. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, they're still a perennial powerhouse. They make the playoffs in D2 almost every year. You know, they've only missed it a few times since Matt Mitchell's been there. And it's because they continue to get kids who probably could play mid-major Division I football. And they still 100%. Even get some of the Big Ten transfers who get to Big Ten football, find out they're not good enough, transfer to Grand Valley, right? Because Grand Valley has, I don't know, probably a dozen guys playing in the NFL, at least 8 to 10 NFL guys right now. I mean, I'm pretty sure Grand Valley's probably got 8 to 10 guys in the NFL right now. But Ferris State has turned
Ferris
into
is right
that.
there.
Ferris has turned into that under
They're
Tony
right
Anise. I mean, that guy knows how to recruit kids. I were you there with us when we went and watched him speak at the Michigan High School Football Coaches Association Coaches Clinic in the Lansing Center a few years ago? So Tony Anise got to give a hell of a speech, man. He's a incredible coach. Listening to him talk. If Jaleel Canty, local coaching and playing buddy of ours in Lansing, Michigan here, he's the varsity head football coach at Lansing Everett, played for Tony Anise, and he'll tell you what a great coach he was. So I know from talking to people, our buddy Corey Arnotts, who we went to Grand Ledge with, also played for Tony Anise over at Ferris. So, I mean, those guys have said what a great coach he is. So, yeah. I
was 5 minutes away from being a bulldog.
Were you a bulldog? A bulldog?
A bulldog.
Go Dogs!
I'd have more rings than I had wins, I think, at Northwood. No, I love my alma mater. I'm done shitting on Northwood for the episode, but
just didn't have a lot of football. Did you not have a winning season? I don't think you had a winning season there.
No,
one year you guys started 5-0, or did you guys finish 6-5?
I broke my thumb.
Didn't you finish 6-5 though that year? You finished 5-0, I thought, or started 5-0 and finished 6. So did you start 4-0 and then finish 5-6?
Yeah.
So I didn't think you lost 6 straight games.
My senior year, I think we won 5 games.
You were close. Makes you feel better. I only had 2 winning seasons at Hillsdale, but it managed to give me 2 rings. So
I played a lot of games and lost a lot of them. So it is what it is.
It is what it is. Hey, we've been on good teams, we've been on bad teams, man. We know what it's like to be successful. We know what it's like to fight through adversity and know who's got your back and who doesn't. So there's nothing better than that. All right.
Beer still drinks the same.
Well, yeah. Win or lose, we booze. That's
you didn't make a pick, so I'm calling you out. I said Ferris State.
All right. So for the Ferris State Grand Valley State game, I will say very difficult to beat a team twice. I think everybody knows that in any level of football, high school, college, NFL, it is so hard to beat a team 2 times because if you beat them once, it's really hard to make corrections. If you won the game, you won the game. But I really think Tony Anise and Ferris State has Matt Mitchell and Grand Valley's number. They have to play up at Big Rapids. They got to go travel north, hour and a half, hour, whatever it is to get from Grand Valley up to Ferris State. And I think on home field, Tony Anise will get those guys ready. They've had a week off. I think Ferris State wins. I think Ferris State's going to make a deep run in the playoffs. I think this is going to be up there with that national title, the national title runner-up team that lost by 1 point or whatever it was, 2 points. They went for 2 to tie it up and lost on 2 points a couple years ago. So let's move on here. We're going to talk about some MACtion. We got the beautiful mid-major conference here in the state of Michigan, mid-athletic conference, right? MAC, right, is usually referred to in the state of Michigan. I don't know if anyone out there listening is not from the Midwest, but on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, right?
Oh yeah, good old MACtion.
If you go to their website, it's getsomeMACtion.com. GetsomeMACtion.com. I'm not kidding. It is getsomeMACtion.com. But anyway, we've got, how many teams do we got here? 3 from the state of Michigan, right? Central, Eastern, and Western. So again, with our podcast here, we hope to talk about everything state of Michigan football. Crazy thing about the MAC this year, if you haven't been paying attention to MAC football, split into an East and a West division. All right. The West division has Central, Eastern, and Western. The 3 Michigan schools are schools. I can't talk. The 3 Michigan schools in the MAC are all in the West division. The West division, there are 6 teams, right? Yeah, there's 6 teams in each division. All teams but one currently, there's still 1 game left in the season, currently are bowl eligible. The only team in the West division that's not bowl eligible in the MAC is Ball State, and they're 5-6. So if they manage to win their final game of the season, who are they playing? They are playing Buffalo at home. And Buffalo is not having a very good year. They're 4-7. So if Ball State can beat Buffalo, then every team in the West division is eligible to go to a bowl game. in the MAC, 6 teams. And then there's 2 more teams in the East that are currently 6 and 5. So there are 8 total teams in the MAC this year that have won 6 or more games. And there's still a week left. There's still another game to be played. So crazy. Of the 12 teams, 8 of them are bowl eligible. Good for the MAC, man. I listen to a lot of those guys, those coaches talk at the coaches clinic as well. That happens in Lansing every year. I mean, those guys are go-getters, man. They understand that their fight here in the Midwest, you got the Big Ten. So being a mid-major conference, Division I conference in the Midwest, you're similar situation to the MIAA D3 conference getting all the leftovers. Well, all the leftover D1 guys, because you got to think, I mean, the very best guys in the state of Michigan not only go to Michigan State or Michigan, they go to Ohio State, they go to Penn State, they go to Indiana, they go to Wisconsin. I mean, we have here in just the city of Lansing, we have DeWitt, whose star wide receiver is one of the best players in the state, is going to Wisconsin. I mean, all those MAC schools are fighting the Big Ten for the best Division I talent in the Midwest. Central Michigan 7-4 this year. Eastern Michigan 7-4. Eastern Michigan, I'm gonna pause.
Didn't have a program 5 years ago. Their program was proclaimed. It was done. Cancel culture to Eastern Michigan, and now they're a program.
They never ended up following through with that, though, right? They talked about folding the program because there wasn't enough money and there wasn't enough popularity surrounding the program, but they never ended up doing it.
I think it was 2015 was like the last year, and I think since 2015 they've went to a bowl game almost every single year.
They went to a bowl game in 2016, 2018, 2019, and then 2020. They only played 6 games. They went 2-4. So this will be their 4th bowl game in. So crazy fact about Eastern Michigan. We just talked about how they've gone to 4 bowl games in 6 years. Since 1940, okay, 1940, 82 years, 1940 to 2021, 81 years. They have been to 7 total bowl games. Excuse me, 6. I'm sorry, I miscounted. 6. 4 of them coming since 2016. Isn't that wild?
So you're saying there's a chance.
I'm saying they are awful. I'll give you an even better stat. From 1990 to 2016, 27 seasons, they had 2 winning seasons. 2.
That's why they should have been canceled.
Almost 30 years, they had only 2 winning seasons. Eastern Michigan has been an abysmal football program. So you have got to commend this staff for getting them 7 wins. Do you understand? I also don't know if you looked this up. Do you understand if they win their last game? That doesn't count the bowl game. I'm talking about just their final regular season game. And they get to 8-4. Are you ready for this? That will be their most wins in a season since 1987. They went 10-2 in 1987. That's their best season in school history. That's their only double win season in school history was 1987.
They're also in a very, 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 very talent-rich part of not only the state of Michigan, they're in the corridor of like Ohio.
Like, I know, Ypsilanti. I know.
Literally walk across the border and recruit 25 people.
I just think Eastern Michigan's athletic department as a whole, it's not really a very popular or alumni-heavy university in a state of Michigan that already has so many universities. I mean, not even private colleges, so many universities in the state, so many schools that you can go to in the state of Michigan. So Eastern Michigan over by Ypsilanti, which is already not far from the University of Michigan, right?
Correct.
So I just think it's just never been a program that's put any money towards athletics and football in general. And you gotta give a round of applause, man.
I'm gonna call up my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law is an Eastern Michigan grad, volleyball star. I'm gonna call her. She needs to become a booster. We're gonna boost Eastern Michigan to the championship.
I'm happy for them, man.
We're just gonna give them $100.
If Eastern wins this last game, which who are they playing here? Their final regular season game is at Central. So in Central is also 7-4. So win or lose, though, a 7-win season for Eastern. Pretty awesome. They still will go to a bowl game as well. Very cool for them. Central Michigan, win or lose, also going to a bowl game. Western Michigan, win or lose, will also go to a bowl game. Western Michigan has to play Northern Illinois at Northern Illinois, who is the division leader. And at 8-3, Northern Illinois has the best record in the MAC right now. So I would imagine Northern Illinois will probably take care of business at home on senior day. But yeah, so Northern Illinois has clinched the West already, whether they win or lose to Western, because second place team Central they already beat. Kent State and Miami are tied for first in the East. They are playing each other for the division. The winner of that game on Saturday will play Northern. I think, does the MAC championship get played the very next weekend? I think it does.
Yeah, Ford Field.
They do. I know they play at Ford Field, but I couldn't remember if they play the very next weekend or not. So,
yeah.
All right. Do you have anything else you want to add about MACtion? Otherwise, we'll move on here.
Just the fact that Rocky Lombardi has found a resurgence in his playing career at NIU. I think that's pretty funny because he beat Michigan a handful of times, and then actually he might not have beat maybe once.
He was the starter just the one time, 2020.
Oh, so yeah, he didn't beat Michigan. Just kidding.
Yeah, because Michigan.
He's deservingly at NIU. Then screw that guy. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, he's having a heck of a season over at Northern Illinois, man. I mean, he is from Iowa. Excuse me, I was going to say Illinois. He's from Iowa originally, so a little closer to home, I guess. Maybe, I don't know. It's heading a little bit more west. I don't know if it's closer or not. I have to look. I think it should be. But yeah, he's having quite a season for Northern Illinois after playing at Michigan State. So good for him, man. Good for him. He has thrown for almost 2,000 yards so on the season. So good for him. All right, so let's move on here. And I think, Kory, correct me if I am not wrong, we're going to finish up here with the Lions. And then this podcast is going to be seamlessly edited together. We are doing this portion of the podcast earlier in the day, and we will be having our guest picker, Brett Johnson, onto the podcast with us to discuss the MHSAA playoffs. And we're going to each pick the state championship winner, kind of discuss the semifinals together. And then after that, we will have a segment talking about Michigan State football as well. Kind of after coming out of this last weekend, Michigan's victory, Michigan State's loss, what that kind of means going forward, as well as the college football playoffs. But before we have that segment tacked on here, let's talk for maybe a couple minutes about the lie downs. The beautiful, beautiful, awful, horrible.
I am a Dan Campbell believer. I'm bought in. I'm biting kneecaps. I'm doing all that fun stuff.
Biting kneecaps.
For the first time in maybe not my lifetime, probably since 2000, like we'll say 10, 11, 12 in that region, we actually have a competent offensive line and we have a run game and we just don't have anything else though. I mean, our quarterback play looks like the guy from the guy that can throw it over the mountains, Uncle Rico. And then you've got, I don't know, the Lions are bad. I know it's a rebuild or supposed rebuild, but the product that we were putting on the field currently is atrocious. Our defensive play, our secondary linebackers are doing okay. Our defensive line is pretty miserable to watch. They get about as much pressure as an 8th grade defensive line. It's just, I don't know. I'm ready for their season to be over because it creates a stress in my life that I just don't need because I'm already bald. So, yeah, that's my take. I mean, it's just miserable to watch. It's just bad football.
I think one difference, because I call myself a fan of the Lions. I mean, there's no other NFL team that I actively root for. I really hope Matt Stafford does well, but I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a Rams fan. I really have a lot of respect and admiration for Matt Stafford, so I really hope he does well. I'm kind of rooting for him as a player, but I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a Rams fan. The Lions are my team. You know, if I'm going to root for an NFL team, I'm going to root for my home state of Michigan. Something that I always talk about with my father-in-law, who is almost 60 years old and has watched the Detroit Lions his entire life, is the ownership. One thing that's been a constant through the misery that is the Detroit Lions franchise has been the Fords. You've had plenty of talent in there. You have a Hall of Fame running back, a Hall of Fame wide receiver, likely when it's said and done, a Hall of Fame quarterback in Matt Stafford. I'd be very surprised if he does not end up being a Hall of Fame quarterback because he's got a lot of, I would say, That guy's got probably close to 10 years left in his career because I don't think he's even 40. I mean, he's what, mid-30s, 36?
They call him Stat Padford, so he'll be in the Hall of Fame. Don't worry.
I think he's 34 or 35. I mean, I think if he's as healthy as Tom Brady is, I don't know if anyone's as healthy as Tom Brady. I mean, he could play maybe another 10 years. I think he plays at least 5 or 6 years in LA with the Rams, but I don't think you're going to get significant change until ownership change. It starts at the top. I think one of the craziest things was firing Jim Caldwell. The guy was winning games. I didn't understand where the Lions standards were at, that a 9-7 season is a fireable offense. You hadn't won a playoff game in decades. Why are you firing the guy for he went to the playoffs.
He took you to
twice.
2 of them.
Yeah, he went to the playoffs twice. I don't understand that. I get the one argument was he had a winning record against a bunch of losing teams. So what? Win games. Isn't winning what matters? I don't know. That's a whole different story. But anyway, so to me, the ownership has to change. I think another thing that stuck out to me about this team this year when I've watched the Lions is they have a lot of guys that wouldn't start on any other NFL team.
We do not have a wide receiver in our wide receiver core that would be on a roster.
They're all no names. I mean, I don't know any of these guys. I mean, I watch a lot of college football, and I just who are most of these guys? DeAndre Swift's a pretty solid running back. I think he has some bursts of brilliance. I think, like you said, if you get a better O-line in there, maybe he could be a running back to build around. Possibly,
he's the best O-line we've ever had.
Oh, you really like the O-line?
Yeah, it's the best offensive line we ever had, and we're missing an all-pro center.
I guess we did run the ball very, very well against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
250 yards, and we ran it for another 150 last week against who the hell did we even play?
I know that's how forgettable they've been. Was it Philly? No. Who did they play? It was
hold on, cut that.
It was the Browns. They lost by 3 at the Cleveland Browns.
Exactly.
By 3 again.
Baker Bumfield and the Browns, who I think
Baker
are contending.
Bumfield.
They're contending in their division, and we played along with them. And
their defense.
The Browns are 6-5.
Yeah,
they've got a great D line. Baker Mayfield might be a worse quarterback than the Lions quarterback.
The crazy thing is the Lions defense really hasn't been that bad. I mean, Week 3 they gave up 19. Week 4 they gave up 24. Week 5 they gave up 19. Week 7 28. When you get to about 4 scores, that's like kind of make or break. And then 16 to the Steelers and 13 to the Browns. And the Steelers and Browns, like you said, are both teams with winning records. Pretty solid teams. So I mean, their defense has kept them in about 4 or 5 games this year. Their offense. Now, there are some games their defense was abysmal. I mean, they gave up 44 to the Eagles. That was pretty ugly. I mean, 34 to the Bengals, 35 to the Packers, 41 to San Francisco. But the NFL is about scoring points. I mean, if you can't score points, I mean, the NFL is very rarely a defense wins games kind of scenario. I feel like the NFL has gone more and more to like major college football now. You're seeing with the Power 5 conferences, it's all about scoring. We'll get to talking about Ohio State later, but it's about points.
The NFL is all about possessions, and I think that's where Jim Harbaugh has struggled.
Correct, in time of possession. We'll talk about
and we won't get into Jim Harbaugh at Michigan, but
absolutely.
I think it's all about possessions in the NFL, and you have to probably score on to be an elite NFL team. You got to score on 50 to 75% of your possessions. If you're not scoring at that clip, then you're not winning. But no, I mean, Dan Campbell took over the offensive calling reins from Anthony Lynn, who I said 3 weeks ago, Anthony Lynn was probably the MVP. If you had to cancel the season and give out awards already, I would say Anthony Lynn is the only saving grace to the Lions. And Dan Campbell took his reins away the last 2 weeks. And look at this. We can't even throw the ball 10 yards. We run draws on 3rd and 30 every single time. And I just can't watch him anymore because it makes me want to burn my house down.
I will never forget in your basement. Was it Caldwell's last year or was it Patricia's first or second when they had a really good, I think it was Patricia's first or second, where they had a supposedly really good team and they were in tied for first in the North and were playing at the Packers, or was it at home? And they kept at home where they kept Monday calling night. those hands to the face. And you and I are literally screaming at the TV, where the fuck is hands to the face? He's touching his shoulder.
They threw the Hail Mary that night, didn't they? Wasn't that the night they threw the Hail Mary?
Hail Mary.
Aaron Rodgers did, and we
I
lost.
thought that was 2015. I was at Hillsdale.
Oh, maybe.
Because I watched that at my house in Hillsdale. Because my buddy Dave Galganias, Dave, if you're listening, fuck you, tackled me onto the floor after the Packers won on that. He tackled me into a couch and was berating me. So that was fun time.
Lawsuit coming. Check the mail.
He also tackled me freshman year at Hillsdale when Michigan State won on that Hail Mary from Kirk Cousins to Keith Nickel. So fuck you again, Dave. We won that game, but he got the last laugh that year because then Wisconsin beat us in the Big Ten championship game. So anyway, all right. That's going to wrap up our conversation there on D1, 2, and 3 football in the state of Michigan, as well as the beautiful lie downs. We are now going to segue seamlessly. You won't even know the difference into our MHSAA playoff discussion, Michigan high school football. We got state championship games at Ford Field next weekend. Brett Johnson will be joining us as our guest picker. We're going to go through, pick each game, talk about them a little bit. And then after that, stay with us. And Kory and I will wrap up our episode 1 here with discussions on Michigan State football. Go green, baby.
Go blue.